At 3 a.m., the mansion held its breath. The triplets' cries, shrill and relentless all night, cut off mid-wail. A maid eased the nursery door open and froze. The crib was wrong. On the rug, a cardboard box trembled in the half-light. Inside, 3 newborns whimpered, while on the king-size bed, the mother slept with headphones, blissfully unaware. What she would lift from that box before dawn would wake the entire house. But before we dive into the full story, let me know where you're watching from and what time it is. Now subscribe to the channel, and let's get started. They're gone. Oh my God, they're gone. Letitia's voice shook as she stared at the empty cribs. The thunder boomed outside the tall windows of the Palmer mansion. Rain hit the glass like small rocks. Letitia Johnson stood frozen in the doorway of the nursery, her heart beating fast. Just minutes ago, she had been asleep in her small room in the East Wing when something woke her up. The triplets always cried at 3 o'clock in the morning. Always. But tonight, there was only silence. Now, looking at the 3 empty cribs, Letitia felt sick. She had worked for the Palmer family for over a year, taking care of their home in Greenwich, Connecticut. The triplets, Emma, Ethan, and Elijah, were only 2 months old. "Oh no," she whispered, stepping farther into the room. The light from the hallway fell across the expensive carpet. There, in the middle of the floor, was a plain cardboard box. Letitia moved closer, her legs shaking. Inside the box were the 3 babies, sleeping peacefully in their blankets. Next to them was a piece of paper with words written in black ink. "These children deserve better than this house of lies." Letitia's hand went to her mouth. Who had done this? Who had taken the babies from their cribs and put them in a box on the floor? And what did the note mean? She looked toward the master bedroom where Sarah Palmer slept with noise-canceling headphones. Then she thought of Jamal Palmer in his separate bedroom on the other side of the huge house. Neither of them knew what was happening just rooms away from them. 12 hours earlier, Jamal Palmer had left for work just as the sun came up. He wore an expensive dark blue suit and carried a leather briefcase. His wife Sarah sat at the kitchen table scrolling through her phone. "I have meetings until 8 tonight," Jamal said, not looking at Sarah. "Don't wait up." Sarah nodded without raising her eyes from her phone. "Fine." They had been married for 3 years. Jamal was 30 years old and worked as an investment banker. Sarah was 28 and had been a model before the triplets were born. They looked perfect from the outside. Rich, beautiful, with 3 healthy babies and a big house. But inside those walls, they barely spoke to each other. Letitia watched them from the doorway. She wore the black and white uniform that was required for all staff at the Palmer house. At 25 years old, she was younger than both of her employers, but often felt much older. She saw everything that happened in this house. "Mr. Palmer," she said, "would you like coffee before you leave?" "No time," Jamal answered, checking his watch. He walked past Letitia without another word. When the front door closed, Sarah sighed. "Letitia, can you check on the babies? I think I heard crying." Letitia nodded and went upstairs to the nursery. The room was painted light blue with 3 white cribs along one wall. Each crib had the name of a baby carved into the wood. The triplets were awake but not crying. Letitia smiled at them. "Good morning, little ones," she said softly. "Did you sleep well?" She picked up Emma first, the smallest of the 3. Then Ethan, who had his father's dark hair. Then Elijah, who was always the hungriest. She changed their diapers and dressed them in matching white outfits. Later that morning, Sarah came into the nursery with her phone. "I need pictures for Instagram," she said. She arranged the babies on a blanket and took several photos. "Perfect! These will get so many likes." Letitia watched as Sarah handed the babies back to her after taking the pictures. Sarah rarely held her children for more than a few minutes at a time. "I'm going shopping with friends," Sarah said. "I'll be back for dinner." That evening, Jamal came home at 9 o'clock, an hour later than he had said. He loosened his tie as he walked into the dining room. Sarah sat alone at the long table, pushing food around her plate. "You missed dinner," she said. "I told you I had meetings," he answered. "You said until 8. Things ran long. Jamal poured himself a glass of scotch from a crystal bottle. "How are the children?" "Fine," Sarah said. "Letitia has been with them all day." Jamal nodded. "Good." They ate in silence, the only sound being forks against plates. When they finished, Jamal went to his study and Sarah went upstairs. They would sleep in separate bedrooms, as they had done since the triplets were born. Letitia finished cleaning the kitchen, then went to check on the babies one last time before bed. They were sleeping peacefully in their cribs. "Good night, little angels," she whispered. She turned on the baby monitor and closed the door quietly. At midnight, the storm began. Wind bent the trees outside the mansion and lightning flashed across the sky. Letitia lay in her small bed listening to the rain. Through the baby monitor, she could hear the soft breathing of the triplets. Sarah was in the master bedroom, her noise-canceling headphones blocking out the storm and any crying that might come from the nursery. Jamal was in his bedroom on the other side of the house, working on his laptop. At 3 o'clock in the morning, Letitia woke up suddenly. Something was wrong. The triplets always cried at this time, hungry for their middle-of-the-night feeding. But tonight, there was only silence. She got out of bed and put on her robe. The hallways of the mansion were dark as she made her way to the nursery. The storm was still raging outside, thunder shaking the windows. When she opened the nursery door and saw the empty cribs, her heart stopped. Then she saw the cardboard box on the floor, the 3 babies inside. "They're gone! Oh my God, they're gone!" she cried out before realizing they weren't gone at all, just moved. But by whom? And why? The babies didn't stir. They were sleeping deeply, unaware of the strange situation they were in. Letitia carefully lifted the note next to them and read it again. "These children deserve better than this house of lies." As she reached for her phone to call for help, her hand froze. On the floor beside the box was a silver cufflink with the letter P engraved on it. She recognized it immediately. It belonged to Jamal Palmer. Letitia's mind raced. Had Jamal done this? But why would he put his own children in a box? And what lies was the note talking about? She needed to wake Sarah and Jamal. Someone had been in the nursery. Someone who either had a key to the house or knew how to get in without breaking anything. Someone who wanted to send a message to the Palmer family. The storm continued outside as Letitia stood in the darkness, torn between running to wake her employers and staying to protect the sleeping babies. Whatever was happening in this house went deeper than she had realized, and now she was caught in the middle of it. Letitia stared at the silver cufflink with the letter P engraved on it. Her hand trembled as she reached for her phone and dialed 911. "Emergency services. What's your emergency?" A calm voice answered. "I need help at the Palmer Mansion in Greenwich," Letitia said, her voice shaking. "Something's happened with the babies." "Are the children hurt?" the operator asked. "No, they seem fine, but someone moved them from their cribs into a box while everyone was sleeping. There's a strange note. Please send someone quickly." "Officers are on their way. Stay with the children." Letitia ended the call and hurried to Sarah's room. She knocked loudly on the door. "Mrs. Palmer! Mrs. Palmer! Wake up!" No answer. Letitia opened the door and rushed to the bed. Sarah was sound asleep with her noise-canceling headphones still on. Letitia gently shook her shoulder. "Mrs. Palmer, please wake up. It's about the babies." Sarah's eyes fluttered open. She removed her headphones. "What? What time is it?" "It's 3:15 in the morning. Something's happened. The babies—" Sarah sat up straight. "What about my babies? Are they hurt?" "They're not hurt, but someone moved them. You need to come now." Sarah jumped out of bed and ran toward the nursery with Letitia following behind. When Sarah saw the empty cribs, she screamed. "Where are they? Where are my children?" Letitia pointed to the cardboard box on the floor. "They're there. They're sleeping. Sarah dropped to her knees beside the box. Her hands shook as she touched each baby's face. Emma? Ethan? Elijah? She pulled each baby from the box and clutched them to her chest, waking them. The triplets began to cry. Who did this? Who would put my babies in a box? Sarah's voice rose with hysteria. Heavy footsteps pounded down the hallway. Jamal appeared in the doorway, his hair messy from sleep. What's happening? Why is everyone screaming? His eyes moved from the empty cribs to Sarah holding the crying babies to the cardboard box on the floor. What the hell is going on? Letitia picked up the note. Someone left this. Jamal took the paper and read it. His face turned pale. These children deserve better than this house of lies? What does that mean? Sarah was rocking back and forth with the crying babies. Someone was in our house, Jamal. Someone touched our children. I called the police, Letitia said. They're on their way. Jamal ran his hand through his hair. Did you hear anything? See anything? No, Letitia said. She still held the cufflink in her closed hand, unsure whether to show it. I woke up because it was too quiet. The babies always cry at 3 o'clock. Blue and red lights flashed through the windows as police cars arrived at the mansion gates. Jamal went downstairs to let them in while Letitia helped Sarah put the triplets back in their cribs. How could this happen? Sarah kept saying. How could someone get in? Within minutes, the house was filled with police officers. A tall man with gray hair entered the nursery and introduced himself. I'm Detective Marcus Roberts. I understand there was an incident with your children? Sarah nodded, tears streaming down her face. Someone took them from their cribs and put them in that box. She pointed to the cardboard box that an officer was now examining with gloved hands. Detective Roberts looked at the note that Jamal handed him. Has anyone touched this besides you, sir? Letitia found it, Jamal said. The detective turned to Letitia. You discovered the situation? Yes, sir. I woke up because the babies weren't crying at their usual time. When I came to check, I found them in the box with that note. Did you hear any noises before that? See anyone in the house? No, sir. 2 paramedics arrived and began examining the triplets. Sarah hovered nearby, watching every move they made. They appear to be perfectly fine, ma'am, one paramedic said. No signs of injury or distress. Detective Roberts was speaking to another officer near the doorway. Check the security system. I want to know if there are cameras and if they captured anything. Jamal led the officer to a small room off the main hallway where security monitors displayed views of the property. The officer sat down at the computer and began typing. Sir, he called to Detective Roberts, the security cameras were disabled between 2:30 and 3:15 this morning. Detective Roberts frowned. Disabled how? Someone entered a code that shut down the system temporarily. It came back online automatically at 3:15. The detective looked at Jamal. Who has access to these security codes? Me, my wife, our security guard, and the house manager, Jamal said. But the codes haven't been changed in maybe 6 months. Anyone who worked here during that time might know them. In the nursery, Sarah was becoming increasingly agitated. Why aren't you out looking for whoever did this? They could still be on the property. We have officers searching the grounds, Mrs. Palmer, Detective Roberts assured her. Right now, I need to ask you and your husband some questions. Another officer approached. Detective, we've checked the entire house. No signs of forced entry anywhere. All doors and windows are secure. Detective Roberts nodded. So our intruder either had a key or knew someone who did. This is your fault, Sarah suddenly said to Jamal. If you hadn't insisted on sleeping in a different bedroom, you might have heard something. Jamal's face hardened. And if you weren't wearing those stupid headphones, you might have heard something too. You sleep 10 feet away from them. Please, Detective Roberts said, this isn't helping. Mr. and Mrs. Palmer, I need to speak with each of you separately. As the detective led Sarah to another room, Letitia stood by the triplets' cribs, feeling caught between everyone. She still hadn't mentioned the cufflink. If it belonged to Jamal, what did that mean? Could he have done this to his own children? But why? An officer approached her. "Ma'am, we'll need to speak with you, too. Detective Roberts has some questions about your movements tonight." Letitia nodded, her throat dry. "Of course." Outside, the storm had passed, but a new storm was brewing inside the Palmer mansion. Police officers collected fingerprints from the nursery doorknobs and windowsills. The cardboard box was carefully packaged as evidence. Officers made a list of everyone who had keys to the house: household staff, family members, maintenance workers. As the sun began to rise, Letitia looked out the window and saw news vans gathering at the mansion gates. Someone had tipped off the media. The Palmer family's private crisis was about to become very public. Detective Roberts finished interviewing Sarah and found Jamal in his study. "Mr. Palmer, does anyone besides the immediate family have any reason to leave such a message? About lies in this house?" Jamal stared at the detective for a long moment. No one answered. The silence in the room grew uncomfortable, and Detective Roberts knew this case was just beginning to crack open. The weight of Detective Roberts' question hung in the air. Jamal looked down at his hands, avoiding eye contact. "I think that's all for tonight," Detective Roberts finally said, closing his notebook. "We'll continue our investigation in the morning. I'm leaving officers outside your property for your family's protection." 3 days later, the Palmer mansion still buzzed with police activity. Yellow police tape marked off the nursery as a crime scene. Dark circles had formed under Jamal's eyes, and Sarah barely left the temporary nursery set up in another bedroom. The triplets, unaware of the chaos around them, continued their routine of eating, sleeping, and crying. Detective Roberts returned that morning, his face serious as he entered the mansion's large entryway. He carried a leather folder under his arm. "Mr. Palmer," he said, nodding at Jamal, who waited near the stairs. "Thank you for making time for us again today. We have some follow-up questions." "Of course," Jamal said. "Whatever helps find who did this." Detective Roberts glanced around the foyer. "I'd like to speak with everyone separately again. Is there somewhere private we can talk?" "Use my study," Jamal said, leading the way. Inside the wood-paneled room, Detective Roberts arranged his notes on the desk. "We've been analyzing the evidence from the scene. The fingerprints on the box were wiped clean, which suggests this was carefully planned." Jamal ran his hand through his hair. "Did you find anything else?" "We need to dig deeper into possible motives," the detective said. "Mr. Palmer, is there anyone who might want to harm your family? Not physically, but emotionally. I've made some enemies in business, but nothing that would lead to this." "And your marriage? How would you describe it?" Jamal's jaw tightened. "What does that have to do with anything?" "In cases like this, the answer is often close to home," Detective Roberts said gently. "We need to consider all possibilities." After interviewing Jamal, the detective spoke with Letitia in the kitchen. She sat with her hands folded in her lap, her uniform neatly pressed despite the stress of recent days. "Miss Johnson, you've worked for the Palmers for how long?" "Just over a year, sir." "And in that time, have you noticed anything unusual about the family?" Letitia shifted in her seat. "They're my employers. I don't think it's my place to—" "Letitia," Detective Roberts interrupted, "this is about the safety of those babies. If you know something, you need to tell me." She looked down at her hands. "They don't really talk to each other much. Mr. Palmer works late most nights. Mrs. Palmer spends a lot of time on her phone." "Does Mrs. Palmer have many visitors when her husband is away?" Letitia's eyes widened slightly. "I don't know what you mean." "I think you do," the detective said quietly. In the sunroom, Sarah sat with her back to the window. The room was bright with morning light, making her look pale and tired. Detective Roberts sat across from her, his notebook open. "Mrs. Palmer, I need to ask you some difficult questions." "I've answered everything already," she said, her voice strained. "I don't know who would do this to my babies." "The note mentioned lies," the detective said. "Are there secrets in this house that someone might know about? Someone who might want to expose them?" Sarah's hand trembled as she reached for her water glass. "I don't know what you mean." "Mrs. Palmer, we've spoken to your household staff. We know that you receive visitors when your husband is working late." The glass slipped from Sarah's hand, spilling water across the table. That's not—" "We're not here to judge you," Detective Roberts said. "But if there's someone who might feel betrayed or angry, we need to know." Sarah covered her face with her hands and began to sob. Her shoulders shook as years of secrets finally broke free. "It's William," she whispered between sobs. "William Carter." "Your husband's business partner?" She nodded, unable to look up. "How long has this been going on?" 2 years, Sarah said, her voice barely audible. "We've been careful. No one knew." Detective Roberts wrote in his notebook. "Is there anything else I should know about your relationship with Mr. Carter?" Sarah finally looked up, her face streaked with tears. "The triplets," she said. "They're not Jamal's, they're William's." The detective stopped writing. "And does your husband know this?" "No," she whispered. "No one knows, except—" "Except who, Mrs. Palmer?" "Maybe Letitia suspected something. She's always watching, always around." In Jamal's study, the detective broke the news carefully. Jamal sat very still, his face unreadable as he listened. "I'm sorry to have to tell you this," Detective Roberts said, "but your wife has confirmed she's been having an affair with William Carter for approximately 2 years." Jamal picked up a crystal paperweight from his desk, turning it over in his hands. "I see. There's more, sir. Mrs. Palmer claims that Mr. Carter is the biological father of the triplets." The paperweight hit the carpet with a thud. Jamal's face showed shock, but not complete surprise. He stood up abruptly and walked to the window. "Mr. Palmer, did you suspect the affair?" Jamal's back remained turned. There were signs. Late-night calls she'd taken another room. Weekends when she was shopping with friends but came home without packages. "I didn't want to know for sure." "But you didn't know about the children?" Jamal turned around, his eyes red. "Number that I did not know." He laughed bitterly. "So much for the Palmer family legacy." Detective Roberts nodded sympathetically. "I need to ask you something important. Given this new information, can you think of anyone who might have known these secrets, someone who might want to expose them?" "William has a wife," Jamal said. "Emily, if she found out—" Back in the kitchen, Letitia sat across from Detective Roberts again. Her eyes were downcast. "Letitia, did you know about Mrs. Palmer's affair with Mr. Carter?" She didn't answer immediately. "I can't afford to lose this job," she finally said. "I have a child in college. I'm all they have." "So you did know." Letitia nodded slowly. "I saw things. Mr. Carter would visit when Mr. Palmer was working late. I heard them together once when I was cleaning near the guest bedroom." "Why didn't you tell Mr. Palmer?" "It wasn't my place," Letitia said. "And I needed this job. My child's tuition is due next month." "Did you know about the paternity of the triplets?" "I suspected," Letitia admitted. "Mrs. Palmer was very careful about the baby's medical records. She wouldn't let Mr. Palmer take them to doctor appointments." The door to the kitchen swung open. Sarah stood there, her face twisted with anger. "You knew?" she screamed at Letitia. "You knew, and you've been watching me all this time?" Letitia stood up. "Mrs. Palmer, I never—" "You betrayed me!" Sarah shouted. "You told them everything!" Jamal appeared behind Sarah. "Like you betrayed me?" His voice was cold. 2 years, Sarah. 2 years with my business partner, and those children." "Don't you dare say they're not your children," Sarah said, turning to face him. "You haven't acted like their father since they were born. When was the last time you even held them?" Detective Roberts stepped between them. "Please, this isn't helping." Jamal pointed at Letitia. "And you. You knew all along and said nothing." "Mr. Palmer, I'm sorry," Letitia said, her voice trembling. "I needed this job. My child." "Everyone out," Jamal said quietly. "Everyone out of my study. Now." As Detective Roberts gathered his notes, his phone rang. He answered it, listening intently before ending the call. "That was the lab," he said. "We have results from the handwriting analysis on the note." All three stopped arguing and turned to him. "The handwriting doesn't match any samples we have from the household staff," he continued. "But we did find a partial fingerprint on the back of the note. We're running it through the system now." Outside the mansion, a black car pulled up to the gates. A tall man in an expensive suit stepped out and spoke to the police officer on duty. The officer made a call, then allowed the man to enter. Detective Roberts' phone buzzed with a text message. He read it and looked up at Jamal. "Mr. Palmer, William Carter is here to see you." Tension filled the room as Jamal stared at Detective Roberts. His face hardened into a mask of controlled anger. "Tell the officers to send him away," Jamal said through clenched teeth. "Mr. Palmer," Detective Roberts said, "it might be helpful to speak with him as part of our investigation." Jamal slammed his fist on the desk. "I don't want that man in my house." Sarah stepped forward. "I need to talk to him, Jamal. He deserves to know what's happening." "Deserves?" Jamal laughed bitterly. "You think he deserves anything from me?" Before anyone could respond, the sound of the front door opening echoed through the hallway. A woman's voice called out, "Jamal? Where is everyone?" Jamal's face changed instantly. "Mother?" he said, surprise replacing anger. An elegant older woman appeared in the doorway. Gloria Palmer wore a cream-colored suit and pearl earrings. Her silver hair was styled perfectly, not a strand out of place. She carried a small designer handbag and looked like she had just stepped out of a luxury magazine. "What on earth is going on?" Gloria demanded. "There are police cars everywhere and reporters at the gate. No one is answering my calls." Jamal moved to his mother. "How did you get past the officers?" "I told them I'm your mother," Gloria said simply. "Now will someone please explain why there are police in my son's home?" Detective Roberts introduced himself. "Mrs. Palmer, I'm Detective Marcus Roberts. We're investigating an incident involving your grandchildren." Gloria's eyes widened. "The babies? Are they hurt?" "They're fine," Sarah said coldly. "Not that you care." Gloria ignored her daughter-in-law. "Jamal, what happened?" Before Jamal could answer, the room became even more crowded as William Carter was escorted in by a police officer. He stopped short when he saw everyone gathered in the study. "I came as soon as I heard," William said. His eyes moved from Jamal to Sarah, then to Detective Roberts. "What's going on?" Jamal's hands curled into fists. "Get out of my house!" William looked confused. "Jamal, I don't understand." "Don't you?" Jamal took a step toward him. "Sarah told them everything, about your 2-year affair, about the triplets being yours." William's face drained of color. He looked at Sarah, who couldn't meet his eyes. "I had to tell them," she whispered. "They're investigating what happened to the babies." "What happened to the babies?" Gloria asked sharply. "Will someone please tell me what's going on?" Detective Roberts explained the situation briefly. 3 nights ago, someone entered the nursery and moved the triplets from their cribs into a cardboard box. They left a note saying, "These children deserve better than this house of lies." Instead of showing concern for the triplets, Gloria's attention focused immediately on the box. "What kind of box? Where is it now?" Detective Roberts frowned at her unusual question. "It was a plain cardboard box, Mrs. Palmer. We've taken it as evidence." "Can I see it?" Gloria asked. "Mother," Jamal said, "the babies could have been hurt. Why are you concerned about the box?" Gloria waved her hand dismissively. "Of course I'm concerned about the children, but details matter, Jamal." Detective Roberts watched Gloria carefully. "Mrs. Palmer, when did you arrive in Greenwich?" "This morning," she said. "I drove from my home in Westport as soon as I heard about the police at the mansion." "And you haven't been here since when?" Gloria looked annoyed. "I visited for dinner 2 weeks ago. Why does that matter?" From the doorway, a new voice spoke. "That's not true." Everyone turned to see Raymond Wilson, the Palmer family's chef, standing there. He was a tall man with a serious face, wearing a white chef's coat. "I'm sorry to interrupt," Raymond said, but I heard Mrs. Palmer say she wasn't here recently. That's not true. I saw her car in the driveway 3 nights ago." Gloria's perfectly composed face showed a flash of anger. "That's absurd. I was home in Westport." "No, ma'am," Raymond insisted. "I was up late preparing meals for the next day. Around 2 o'clock in the morning, I looked out the kitchen window and saw your silver Mercedes in the driveway." Gloria laughed. "You must be mistaken. Many people drive silver Mercedes." "It had your custom license plate," Raymond said. GMP1. Gloria Maria Palmer. Detective Roberts turned to Jamal. "Mr. Palmer, do you keep a visitor log for the estate?" "Yes," Jamal said. "The security guard at the gate records everyone who enters and leaves. I'd like to see that log for the night in question." Jamal led Detective Roberts to the security office near the front gate. The guard on duty pulled out a large black book. "Here's the log, sir," the guard said, opening it on the desk. Detective Roberts flipped through the pages to the date of the incident. He frowned and flipped back and forth between pages. "Something's wrong," he said. "There are no entries for that entire night. The log jumps from 6 p.m. to 7 a.m. the next morning." The security guard looked confused. "That's not possible. I was on duty until midnight, and Mark took over after that. We record every vehicle." "Someone removed these pages," Detective Roberts said. "The book has been tampered with." Back inside the mansion, the tension had only increased. Gloria sat rigidly in an armchair, her handbag clutched tightly in her lap. William stood by the window, as far from Jamal as possible. Sarah had left the room to check on the triplets with Letitia. When Detective Roberts and Jamal returned, the detective addressed Gloria directly. "Mrs. Palmer, the visitor log for the night of the incident appears to have been altered. Pages are missing." "And you think I had something to do with that?" Gloria asked, her voice icy. "Based on what a cook says he saw?" "Chef," Raymond corrected quietly. Detective Roberts continued. "We'll be checking traffic cameras in the area to verify movements that night. If there's something you'd like to tell us now, it would be helpful." "I have nothing to say," Gloria replied, "except that this family has clearly fallen apart in my absence. William and Sarah?" She looked at William with disgust. "Jamal, I warned you about marrying her. Don't start, Mother," Jamal said wearily. Upstairs, Sarah sat in the temporary nursery, watching Letitia feed the triplets. Her phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. When she opened it, she gasped. "What's wrong?" Letitia asked. "Someone sent me these," Sarah said, showing Letitia her phone. The screen displayed intimate photos of Sarah and William together. "They say they've sent them to everyone at Jamal's firm." Sarah rushed downstairs, her face pale with panic. She burst into the study. "Someone hacked my email," she said. "They've sent private photos of me and William to Jamal's business contacts." William stepped forward. "What photos?" Sarah showed him her phone. William's face fell. "Those were in your private account?" "Yes," Sarah whispered. "No one had access except me." Detective Roberts took the phone. "This happened just now?" Sarah nodded. "Minutes ago." Jamal looked defeated. "So now everyone knows. My business partners, our friends, everyone." Detective Roberts turned to Gloria. "Mrs. Palmer, where is your phone?" "In my purse," Gloria said. "Why? May I see it?" Gloria hesitated, then opened her handbag and handed over her phone. Detective Roberts looked through it briefly before returning it. "Mrs. Palmer, we'll need to take a sample of your handwriting as part of our investigation." Gloria's eyebrows rose. "My handwriting? Whatever for." "Standard procedure," the detective said. "We're taking samples from everyone close to the family." As Gloria wrote on the paper Detective Roberts provided, Jamal paced the room. "This is a nightmare. First the babies, now this email scandal." William approached him cautiously. "Jamal, I know you hate me right now, but—" "Don't," Jamal cut him off. "Just don't speak to me." Detective Roberts' phone rang. He stepped into the hallway to answer it, then returned looking serious. "Mrs. Palmer," he said to Gloria, Can you explain why your fingerprints were found on the note left with the triplets? The room fell completely silent. Gloria's face remained perfectly composed, but her hand tightened on her purse. "That's impossible," she said. "I wasn't here that night." From outside the window, they heard a car door slam. Detective Roberts looked out to see a tall man in uniform speaking with officers at the gate. "Who is that?" he asked. "Arthur Thompson," Jamal said. "Our butler. He's been with the family for over 30 years. As Arthur approached the house, Gloria's calm facade cracked slightly. She glanced at William, who looked away quickly. Detective Roberts caught the look between them. "Mrs. Palmer, is there something you and Mr. Carter would like to tell me about your relationship?" Gloria straightened her back and looked directly at Detective Roberts. "I have no relationship with William Carter beyond him being my son's business partner." William shifted uncomfortably but stayed silent. The front door opened and Arthur Thompson entered the study. The butler, a tall man with silver hair and perfect posture, took in the tense scene with a quick glance. "I apologize for my absence," Arthur said formally. "I was visiting my sister in Hartford when I received word of the situation." Detective Roberts observed the butler carefully. "Mr. Thompson, we're investigating an incident involving the triplets. Were you at the mansion 3 nights ago?" Before Arthur could answer, a young officer appeared at the doorway. "Detective Roberts, the lab just sent over the full forensic report. You're going to want to see this right away." The detective excused himself and stepped into the hallway. When he returned, his expression had changed. He looked directly at Gloria Palmer. "Mrs. Palmer, the forensic lab has completed their analysis of the note left with the triplets. The handwriting is a match to samples of your writing we obtained from the visitor logbooks from previous visits." Gloria's face remained composed, but her knuckles turned white as she gripped her purse. "Furthermore," the detective continued, "your fingerprints were found on both the cardboard box and the note. Can you explain that?" The room fell silent. Jamal stared at his mother in disbelief. "Mother?" he said. "What is he talking about?" Gloria glanced at Arthur Thompson, who kept his eyes fixed on the floor. "This is absurd," Gloria said. "I wasn't even here that night." "We have your fingerprints on the evidence, Mrs. Palmer," Detective Roberts said firmly, "and a witness who saw your car in the driveway. If you continue to lie, I'll have no choice but to arrest you immediately." Gloria's perfect composure finally cracked. Her shoulders slumped slightly and she looked suddenly older. "I think everyone should sit down," she said quietly. Sarah returned to the room, having left the triplets with Letitia. She stood in the doorway, eyes narrowed at Gloria. "Mrs. Palmer was just about to explain why her fingerprints are on the note and box," Detective Roberts told her. Gloria took a deep breath. "Yes, I was here that night. I used my key to enter the house." "You moved my babies?" Sarah's voice shook with anger. "You put them in a box on the floor?" "I would never harm those children," Gloria said sharply. "They were perfectly safe. I wrapped them carefully in their blankets. The box was clean and sturdy." "But why?" Jamal asked, his voice hollow. "Why would you do something like that?" Gloria looked at her son with sad eyes. "Because you deserve to know the truth, Jamal, about your wife, about those children who aren't yours." The room exploded with voices. Sarah screamed accusations at Gloria. William tried to speak but was drowned out. Jamal stood frozen, looking between his mother and his wife. "Quiet!" Detective Roberts commanded. The room fell silent. "Mrs. Palmer, continue your explanation." Gloria straightened her jacket. "I discovered Sarah's affair with William months ago. I hired a private investigator after noticing how she behaved around him at company events. When the triplets were born, I had my suspicions about their paternity." "So you endangered 3 innocent babies to expose their mother's affair?" Detective Roberts asked. "I did not endanger them," Gloria insisted. "I checked on them every few minutes. I stayed in the house until I heard Letitia getting up. Then I left through the side door." "And the note?" the detective asked. "These children deserve better than this house of lies." "That was your message?" "Yes," Gloria admitted. "This house has been built on lies for too long. My son deserved to know he was raising another man's children." Jamal walked to the window, his back to the room. "How could you, Mother? If you knew all this, why didn't you just tell me?" "Would you have believed me?" Gloria asked. "Or would you have thought I was just trying to come between you and Sarah, as you've accused me of doing since you married her?" Sarah stepped forward, her face flushed with anger. "You've hated me from the beginning. This wasn't about protecting Jamal. This was about getting rid of me." "You never deserved him," Gloria snapped. "I knew what you were the moment I met you. A social climber looking for a wealthy husband." "Stop it, both of you," Jamal said, turning from the window. "This isn't helping." Detective Roberts turned to Arthur Thompson, who remained standing quietly by the door. "Mr. Thompson, did you know about Mrs. Palmer's plan?" Arthur's face betrayed nothing. "I have served the Palmer family for 30 years. "That's not an answer," the detective said. "Arthur had nothing to do with this," Gloria stated firmly. Detective Roberts looked unconvinced. "Mrs. Palmer, did you act alone that night?" Gloria hesitated for just a moment too long. "Yes." Sarah laughed bitterly. "She's lying. She's still lying." She turned to Detective Roberts. "She didn't just suddenly decide to do this. She's been gathering evidence against me for months. I found a small recording device in the guest bedroom 2 weeks ago. I thought it was Jamal who put it there." "You were recording my wife?" Jamal asked his mother. Gloria didn't deny it. "I needed proof." William finally spoke up. "Gloria contacted me 3 months ago. She said she knew about the affair and would tell Jamal unless I agreed to meet with her." All eyes turned to William. "You've been working with my mother?" Jamal's voice was deadly quiet. William looked down. "She showed me photos of Sarah and me together. She said if I didn't help her get evidence against Sarah, she would destroy both our reputations and make sure I lost everything in the business." "What kind of evidence?" Detective Roberts asked. "She wanted recordings of Sarah talking about the triplets' paternity. She wanted me to get Sarah to admit on tape that she had been lying to Jamal." Detective Roberts turned back to Gloria. "So you blackmailed Mr. Carter to help you gather evidence against your daughter-in-law, then decided to take matters into your own hands by staging this incident with the triplets?" "I did what was necessary," Gloria said, chin raised. "This family's reputation—" "Reputation?" Jamal interrupted. "You put those babies at risk for the family reputation?" "They were never at risk," Gloria insisted. "I would never harm my grandchildren regardless of their paternity." Detective Roberts had heard enough. "Mrs. Palmer, please stand up. You're under arrest for child endangerment and breaking and entering." "You can't be serious," Gloria said, remaining seated. "I'm very serious," the detective replied. "You entered this home without permission and removed 3 infants from their cribs, placing them in potential danger." As Detective Roberts recited Gloria's rights, Arthur Thompson stepped forward. "Detective," he said, "Mrs. Palmer did not act alone that night." The room fell silent again. "Arthur, don't," Gloria warned. Arthur ignored her. "I assisted Mrs. Palmer. I disabled the security system and helped move the children. If you're arresting her, you should arrest me as well." Jamal stared at the butler in disbelief. "Arthur? You've been in my life since I was a child. How could you do this?" "I have always served the Palmer family's best interests," Arthur said stiffly. "Your father would have wanted you to know the truth." Detective Roberts signaled to an officer to take Arthur's statement. "Mr. Thompson, we'll need to process you as well." As the officers prepared to escort Gloria and Arthur out, Gloria looked at Jamal with tears in her eyes. "I was protecting you, Jamal. Everything I've done has been to protect you." Jamal turned away. "Take her out of here." After Gloria and Arthur were led away, the study felt emptier but no less tense. William stood awkwardly by the door, clearly unsure if he should leave. "I should go," he said finally. "Wait," Detective Roberts said. "I still have questions about your communications with Mrs. Palmer." Sarah sank into a chair, her face in her hands. "This is a nightmare." Jamal looked at his wife, then at William, his business partner and former friend. The betrayal on all sides was overwhelming. "Detective," he said, "can the rest of this wait until tomorrow? I need time to process everything." "Of course," Detective Roberts replied. "Mr. Carter, don't leave town. We'll need to speak with you again." After the detective and William left, Jamal and Sarah sat in silence for several minutes. The large house seemed to echo with unspoken words. "What happens now?" Sarah finally asked. Jamal stared at the floor. "I don't know. I truly don't know." Upstairs, Letitia sat with the triplets, singing them a soft lullaby as they drifted to sleep, unaware of how their world had just been torn apart. The grandfather clock in the hallway chimed midnight. Jamal and Sarah still sat in silence, the weight of the day's revelations hanging between them. Upstairs, the triplets slept peacefully, unaware of the chaos surrounding their young lives. "I want to see them," Jamal said suddenly, standing up. Sarah looked surprised. "The babies?" "Yes." His voice was flat. "I want to see them." They walked upstairs to the temporary nursery where Letitia dozed in a chair beside the cribs. She startled awake when they entered. "I'm sorry, Mr. Palmer. I didn't mean to fall asleep," she said quickly. "It's fine, Letitia," Jamal said. "You can go get some rest. We'll stay with them." After Letitia left, Jamal stood over the cribs, looking down at the sleeping infants. Emma's tiny fist was curled beside her face. Ethan's chest rose and fell with each breath. Elijah's mouth made small, sucking movements in his sleep. "They're innocent in all this," Jamal whispered. "Whatever happens between us, remember that." Sarah nodded, tears filling her eyes. "What do you want to do, Jamal?" Before he could answer, his phone rang. It was Detective Roberts. "Mr. Palmer, sorry to call so late. We need William Carter to come in for formal questioning tomorrow morning. Can you contact him?" "I don't think I'm the right person to call him, Detective," Jamal said coldly. "I understand. We'll handle it. There's something else you should know. We've found evidence on your mother's phone that she and Mr. Carter have been in regular contact for months." Jamal's grip tightened on the phone. "What kind of contact?" "Text messages, emails, phone calls. We're still going through everything, but it appears they were working together to gather information about your wife." After ending the call, Jamal turned to Sarah. "My mother and William have been communicating for months. The detective says they were working together." Sarah sank onto a chair. "I knew she hated me, but to go this far..." "I'm having my own investigator look into this," Jamal said. "I need to know exactly what happened." The next morning, William Carter arrived at the police station in a dark suit, his lawyer by his side. Detective Roberts led them to an interview room where a recording device sat on the table. "Mr. Carter, thank you for coming in," Detective Roberts began. "I'd like to discuss your relationship with Gloria Palmer." William cleared his throat nervously. "We don't have a relationship. She's my business partner's mother." Detective Roberts opened a folder and pushed several printed pages across the table. "These are text messages between you and Mrs. Palmer from the past 3 months. Would you like to change your statement?" William glanced at the messages, then at his lawyer, who nodded slightly. "Gloria contacted me after she hired someone to follow Sarah and me," William admitted. "She had photos of us together. She threatened to show them to Jamal and to my wife Emily unless I helped her." "Helped her how?" "She wanted information about Sarah, recordings of our conversations, details about when the affair started. She was obsessed with proving the triplets weren't Jamal's." "And did you provide this information?" William looked down. "Some of it. I was trying to protect myself, my marriage, my business." "Did you know about her plan to move the triplets that night?" "No." William's head snapped up. "I would never have agreed to that. I may have made terrible mistakes, but I would never put those babies in danger. They're my children." Detective Roberts watched him carefully. We'll need a DNA sample to confirm paternity." "I'll provide whatever you need," William said. "I want to take responsibility." At the Palmer mansion, a private investigator named Michael Reeves sat with Jamal in his study. Spread across the desk were printouts of text messages and phone records. "Your mother first contacted William Carter 3 months ago," Michael explained. "She sent him these photos of him and Sarah at a hotel in New York." Jamal looked at the photos without expression. After that, she demanded regular updates from him about their relationship. She was particularly interested in anything Sarah said about the triplets' paternity. "Why didn't he just tell her to go to hell?" Jamal asked. "Because of this," Michael said, sliding over another document. "Your mother threatened to not only expose the affair but also provide evidence to the SEC about questionable trades at your firm." Jamal's eyes widened. "What evidence?" "None that I can find," Michael said. "It was likely a bluff, but William believed it. He's been feeding her information for months, trying to protect himself." The investigator continued, "Your family driver, Henry, confirmed to police that he occasionally drove William to locations near your estate when you were working late. William would tell Henry he was dropping off work documents, but Henry became suspicious." Jamal rubbed his temples. "So my mother blackmailed my business partner, who was sleeping with my wife, to gather evidence against my wife, who was lying about the paternity of my children." He laughed bitterly. "This is beyond belief." "There's more," Michael said. "Your mother updated her will 2 months ago. She added provisions for the triplets, but only if they were raised in a proper Palmer household. The document specifically excluded Sarah from having any control over the inheritance." Jamal stood up and walked to the window. "She was planning this for months. The incident with the box was just the final move." In another part of the mansion, Sarah was in the master bedroom, pulling clothes from the closet and stuffing them into suitcases. Her phone kept ringing with calls from William, but she ignored them. Letitia appeared in the doorway, holding Elijah. "Mrs. Palmer, he needs to be fed." Sarah took the baby automatically. "I'm taking them and leaving, Letitia. I can't stay here anymore." "Where will you go?" Letitia asked. "My friend has a place in Boston. We'll stay there until I figure things out." Sarah looked at Letitia. "I know you think I'm terrible. Everyone does." "It's not my place to judge," Letitia said quietly. "You knew everything and never said a word," Sarah said. "Why?" "I needed this job," Letitia replied simply. "My child is in college. Every penny I make goes to their tuition." Sarah nodded slowly. "I understand doing whatever it takes for your child." As Sarah continued packing, the doorbell rang. Moments later, a man in a suit appeared at the bedroom door with Jamal. "Sarah Palmer?" the man asked. "Yes?" Sarah answered, holding Elijah closer. "I'm Jeffrey Brooks, Mr. Palmer's attorney. I'm here to serve you with these papers." He held out a document. "This is an emergency order preventing the removal of the minor children from this residence until custody arrangements can be determined by the court." Sarah stared at the paper in shock. "You're stopping me from leaving with my own babies?" "They're not just your babies," Jamal said quietly, "and I won't let you disappear with them." "You don't even want them!" Sarah cried. "You've barely touched them since they were born." "That's going to change," Jamal said. "Whatever happens between us, those 3 children deserve stability and care from both parents, whatever that looks like." At the police station, Detective Roberts finished his interview with William. As William stood to leave, the detective asked one final question. "Mr. Carter, did you help Mrs. Palmer access your wife's email account to send those compromising photos to Mr. Palmer's business associates?" William froze. "What? No, I had nothing to do with that." "Someone accessed Mrs. Palmer's email account and sent those photos. We traced the IP address to a computer at your home." William sank back into his chair. "That's impossible. Unless—" His face paled. "Emily, my wife. She must have found out." "We'll need to speak with her," Detective Roberts said. Back at the mansion, Jamal received a call from Michael Reeves. "Mr. Palmer, we found something on Gloria's personal laptop." She kept detailed notes about her plan to expose Sarah. She called it Operation Truth. The notes specifically mention Arthur Thompson helping her access the house that night. "Arthur has been with our family forever," Jamal said. "I still can't believe he was involved." According to these notes, he was more than involved. He was the one who suggested using the cardboard box. He said it would create a strong visual image that would force you to see the truth. As evening fell, Letitia was in the kitchen preparing bottles when she heard a noise from the security office. She found the door slightly open and peeked inside. The computer screen showed security footage from 3 nights ago, footage that should have been disabled. On the screen, she could clearly see Gloria Palmer entering the nursery at 2:45 in the morning, but she wasn't alone. Arthur Thompson was with her, carrying the cardboard box, and behind them, barely visible in the shadows, was a third person. Letitia gasped. The third person was William Carter. Letitia's hand flew to her mouth as she stared at the security footage. William Carter was there that night. He had lied to everyone, including the police. She quickly pulled out her phone and took a video of the screen showing all 3 people in the nursery. "What are you doing in here?" Letitia jumped at the voice behind her. It was Michael Reeves, Jamal's private investigator. "I heard a noise," Letitia explained quickly. "Look at this footage. It shows William Carter was in the nursery that night with Mrs. Palmer and Arthur." Michael moved closer to the screen. "This changes everything." William told police he had no knowledge of the plan. He pulled out his phone. "I need to call Mr. Palmer immediately." In his study, Jamal answered the call. His face hardened as he listened. "Bring the footage to my office now," he said, ending the call. 10 minutes later, Jamal watched the security video with clenched fists. The image clearly showed William Carter following Gloria and Arthur into the nursery, carrying what appeared to be the note. "He lied," Jamal said, his voice dangerously calm. "He lied to the police. He lied to me." Michael nodded. "Should we contact Detective Roberts?" "Not yet," Jamal said. "First, I want to handle something personally." Jamal picked up his office phone and pressed a button. "Janet, call an emergency board meeting for 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Tell everyone it's mandatory." At the temporary nursery, Sarah was trying to calm Ethan, who had been crying for 20 minutes. Emma and Elijah had started crying too, as if sensing the tension in the house. "Shh, please stop crying," Sarah pleaded, bouncing Ethan gently. Her eyes were red from her own tears. Letitia entered the room. "Mrs. Palmer, let me help you." Sarah handed Ethan to Letitia, who began humming softly to him. Slowly, his cries subsided. "I don't understand how you do that," Sarah said, picking up Emma. "Babies can feel when we're upset," Letitia explained. "They know something is wrong." Sarah sat down, still holding Emma. "Everything is wrong. My whole life is falling apart." "Have you spoken with Mr. Carter?" Letitia asked carefully. "He's called several times, but I haven't answered," Sarah said. "I don't know what to say to him." Letitia hesitated, then said, "Mrs. Palmer, there's something you should know. I found security footage from the night of the incident." Sarah looked up. "What footage?" "I thought the cameras were disabled." One camera in the security office was still recording. It shows Mrs. Palmer and Arthur in the nursery that night. Letitia paused. William Carter was with them. Sarah's face drained of color. That's not possible. William wouldn't." "I saw him clearly on the video," Letitia insisted. "He was carrying the note." Sarah's phone rang. It was William. With shaking hands, she answered and put it on speaker. "Sarah?" "Finally. We need to talk," William's voice came through. "Were you there that night?" Sarah asked directly. A pause. "What night?" "Don't lie to me. Were you in the nursery with Gloria and Arthur when they moved our babies?" Another, longer pause. "Sarah, it's complicated. I can explain." "Yes or no, William?" "Yes," he admitted quietly. "But it's not what you think." Sarah ended the call and threw her phone across the room, startling the babies. They began crying again, louder than before. The next morning at 9 o'clock sharp, Jamal walked into the boardroom of Palmer and Carter Investment Group. All 12 board members were present, including William Carter, who looked nervous. "Thank you all for coming on such short notice," Jamal began. "I'll get straight to the point. I am invoking Section 7 of our partnership agreement to remove William Carter from this firm, effective immediately." Gasps filled the room. William stood up. "Jamal, you can't do this. We need to talk." "Section 7 covers moral turpitude and actions detrimental to the firm," Jamal continued as if William hadn't spoken. "Mr. Carter has engaged in behavior that meets both criteria." "This is about Sarah," William said desperately. "This is personal, not business." Jamal turned to face him directly. "This is about you lying to the police in an active investigation. This is about you being present in my home when my children were placed in danger." "What is he talking about, William?" asked Thomas Reed, the oldest board member. Jamal played the security footage on the boardroom screen. Everyone watched in silence as Gloria Palmer, Arthur Thompson, and William Carter entered the nursery and moved the sleeping triplets into the box. "Those are my children," William blurted out, then immediately regretted his words. The room erupted in shocked voices. Jamal raised his hand for silence. "Yes, Mr. Carter has been having an affair with my wife. Yes, he is apparently the biological father of the triplets. And yes, he participated in this dangerous stunt with my mother." Jamal's voice remained steady. "The police have this footage now. Criminal charges are likely." The board voted unanimously to remove William. As security escorted him from the building, William tried one last time to speak to Jamal. "I never meant for any of this to happen," he said. "Gloria threatened to expose everything. The affair, the babies, even some trades we made last year that might not look good to regulators." Jamal stepped closer. "You were my friend, William. My friend and partner for 8 years. And you betrayed me in every possible way." "I know," William said, his voice breaking. "I'm sorry." "Your sorry means nothing to me," Jamal replied. "Now get out of my building." At the police station, Detective Roberts was updating his case files when Letitia Johnson arrived, asking to speak with him. "Miss Johnson, thank you for coming in," he said, showing her to a chair. "You said on the phone you have new information?" Letitia nodded. "I found security footage showing William Carter in the nursery that night with Mrs. Palmer and Arthur. He was carrying the note." She showed him the video she had recorded on her phone. Detective Roberts watched it carefully. "This contradicts Mr. Carter's statement," he said. "He claimed he had no knowledge of the plan." "There's something else," Letitia added. "Last night I overheard Mr. Palmer's investigator talking on the phone. He found financial records showing Mrs. Palmer updated her will recently. She added money for the triplets, but only if they were raised by Mr. Palmer without Sarah." Detective Roberts made notes. This supports the theory that Mrs. Palmer's actions were part of a larger plan to separate Mrs. Palmer from the children. He looked up at Letitia. "You've been very helpful, Miss Johnson. Is there anything else you think we should know?" Letitia hesitated. "The babies have been very upset. They cry more than usual. I'm worried about them with all this fighting." "Unfortunately, that's outside police jurisdiction," the detective said kindly. "But I appreciate your concern for them." Back at the mansion, Sarah was trying to pack again, despite the court order preventing her from leaving with the triplets. "I can't stay here another day," she told Letitia. "I feel like I'm suffocating." "But the court order," Letitia began. I know I can't take them," Sarah snapped, then immediately looked apologetic. "I'm sorry, Letitia. None of this is your fault." The doorbell rang. Letitia went to answer it and returned with an envelope. "It's from William," she said, handing it to Sarah. Inside was a letter and a check for $50,000. Sarah read the letter aloud. "Sarah, I've secured an apartment in Boston for you. The address is below. I know you can't take the triplets right now, but you need somewhere safe to stay while we figure this out. The check will help with expenses. I'm so sorry for everything. William. Are you going to go? Letitia asked. Sarah stared at the check. I don't know. Can I trust anything he says now? In his study, Jamal was meeting with his lawyer. The DNA test confirms what we already knew, the lawyer said. William Carter is the biological father of all 3 children. Jamal nodded slowly. What does this mean for custody? It complicates things, the lawyer admitted. Despite the circumstances, he has biological rights, but your position as the legal father on the birth certificates gives you standing too. I want what's best for the triplets, Jamal said. Despite everything, I've been their father since birth. His lawyer looked surprised. Many men in your position would walk away. They're innocent in all this, Jamal said firmly. I won't punish them for the actions of others. The triplets' cries echoed through the baby monitor on Jamal's desk. For the first time in months, he got up immediately and went to the nursery. Sarah was there, trying unsuccessfully to calm all 3 babies. Let me help, Jamal said, picking up Elijah. Sarah looked surprised, but handed Emma to him as well. Jamal sat in the rocking chair with a baby in each arm. Slowly their crying subsided. How did you do that? Sarah asked, still bouncing Ethan. I don't know, Jamal said softly. I should have done this more often. I should have been here. As the babies drifted to sleep, Jamal looked at Sarah. We need to talk about what happens next, not just for us, but for them. Sarah nodded, tears in her eyes. I know. Outside the nursery door, Letitia listened to their conversation and smiled sadly. Maybe there was hope for these babies after all. The morning light filtered through the nursery curtains as Jamal and Sarah sat with the sleeping triplets. Their conversation had lasted through the night, painful but necessary. I never meant to hurt you, Sarah said softly. When we first met, I really thought I loved you. And I thought I loved you, Jamal admitted. But maybe we both loved the idea of each other more than the reality. A knock on the door interrupted them. Letitia entered with a worried expression. Mr. Palmer, Detective Roberts is on the phone. He says it's urgent. Jamal took the call in the hallway while Sarah remained with the babies. When he returned, his face was serious. They're bringing my mother, William, and Arthur to the police station this morning for formal questioning. The detective wants us there, too. Sarah looked down at the sleeping triplets. What about the babies? Letitia can watch them, Jamal said. This needs to end today. 2 hours later, Jamal and Sarah sat in separate rooms at the Greenwich police station. Through a window, Jamal could see Gloria, William, and Arthur being led into different interrogation rooms. His mother walked with her head high, still maintaining her dignity despite wearing the same clothes from the day before. William looked disheveled and frightened. Arthur maintained his butler's posture, but appeared much older than Jamal remembered. Detective Roberts entered the observation room where Jamal waited. Mr. Palmer, thank you for coming. I thought you might want to see this. Are they being charged? Jamal asked. Yes. Child endangerment for all 3, plus additional charges of breaking and entering, tampering with evidence, and obstruction of justice. The detective gestured to the window. I'm going to question them one by one, then bring them together. Sometimes that's when the truth really comes out. Jamal nodded. I want to know everything. Oh, in the first interrogation room, Detective Roberts sat across from Gloria Palmer. Despite her night in jail, she had managed to fix her hair and sit with perfect posture. Mrs. Palmer, we have evidence that you, Mr. Thompson, and Mr. Carter all participated in moving the triplets that night. The security footage makes that clear. Gloria's composure faltered slightly. I've already admitted I was there. But you claimed you acted alone, the detective reminded her. That was a lie. Arthur was helping me, Gloria said stiffly. He served our family for decades. And William Carter? The footage shows him carrying the note. Gloria hesitated. William's involvement was limited. Detective Roberts opened a folder and pulled out printed text messages. These messages between you and Mr. Carter tell a different story. You wrote, and I quote, "Once the plan is executed, Jamal will have grounds to keep the children from her." What plan were you referring to? Gloria looked away. I was trying to protect my son. By endangering his children? They're not his children, Gloria snapped, then immediately composed herself. I mean, biologically. But I wanted them to be raised as Palmers, with proper values and traditions. In the next room, William Carter sat with his lawyer. His usual confidence was gone. Mr. Carter, you lied to us about your involvement, Detective Roberts said. The security footage shows you in the nursery that night. William glanced at his lawyer, who nodded slightly. I was there, William admitted. But I didn't know they were going to move the babies into a box. That was Gloria's idea. What did you think was going to happen when you entered a nursery in the middle of the night? William ran his hands through his hair. Gloria said she was going to take pictures of the babies to have DNA tests done secretly. She convinced me it was the only way to prove I was the father without causing a scene. And the note? The footage shows you carrying it. She made me write it, William said quickly. She said if I didn't help her, she'd release information about some questionable trades at the firm. It would have ruined me professionally. In the third room, Arthur Thompson sat alone, refusing a lawyer. Mr. Thompson, why did you help Mrs. Palmer that night? Detective Roberts asked. I have served the Palmer family for 30 years, Arthur said formally. I served Jamal's father before him. The Palmer name stands for something in Greenwich. Even if it meant endangering 3 infants? Arthur's formal demeanor cracked slightly. The children were never in danger. I checked their breathing every few minutes. The box was clean and padded with blankets. Whose idea was the box? Mine, Arthur admitted. Mrs. Palmer wanted to take photos, but I suggested something more dramatic, something Mr. Jamal couldn't ignore. Detective Roberts leaned forward. Did William Carter know the full plan? Of course he did, Arthur said. He was part of the planning discussions for weeks. Mrs. Palmer had meetings with him at her house in Westport. He helped create the diversion to disable the security system. After interviewing each suspect separately, Detective Roberts brought all 3 to a larger conference room. Jamal watched through the one-way glass as they avoided looking at each other. I've heard 3 different stories from the 3 of you, Detective Roberts said. Let's get the truth once and for all. I've told you everything, Gloria insisted. No, you haven't, the detective countered. You haven't explained why your updated will included provisions for the triplets only if they were raised by Jamal without Sarah. William's head snapped up. What will? You never mentioned any will to me. Gloria glared at him. It wasn't relevant to our arrangement. What exactly was your plan, Mrs. Palmer? Detective Roberts asked. Gloria sat straighter. Fine. I planned to force Sarah to admit her affair and the paternity of the triplets. Once Jamal knew the truth, he would divorce her. I would help him get custody of the children, despite their biological connection to William. You wanted my children raised by another man? William asked incredulously. Your children deserve the Palmer name and fortune, Gloria said coldly. What could you offer them? A father who cheats with his friend's wife? Arthur cleared his throat. Mrs. Palmer believed Mr. Jamal would be a better father than Mr. Carter, regardless of biology. And you both went along with this? Detective Roberts asked the men. I thought I was just helping to expose the truth, William protested. I didn't know about the custody plans. That's a lie, Arthur said calmly. You discussed it at length with Mrs. Palmer at her house 2 weeks ago. You agreed to give up paternity rights in exchange for her not revealing certain financial improprieties at the firm. William paled. That's not true. "I have served the Palmer family too long to lie now," Arthur said. "You were willing to give up your children to save your career, Mr. Carter." In the observation room, Jamal watched with growing disgust. Detective Roberts joined him during a break. "They're all turning on each other now," the detective said. "We've got full confessions from each of them, though their stories still conflict on some details." "What happens now?" Jamal asked. "They'll be formally charged. Their lawyers are already discussing plea deals to avoid a public trial." Jamal nodded slowly. "Good. The triplets don't need to grow up with this story in the newspapers." Later that afternoon, Jamal and Sarah sat in the mansion's sunroom. The police had finally removed the crime scene tape from the nursery, but neither of them wanted to use that room again. "I still can't believe William agreed to give up the triplets," Sarah said, her voice hollow. "People will do terrible things to protect themselves," Jamal replied. Sarah wiped a tear from her cheek. "I thought he loved me. I thought he loved them." "Did you love him?" Jamal asked, his voice gentle rather than accusatory. Sarah thought for a moment. "I thought I did. He made me feel seen when you and I grew apart. He asked about my day, remembered things I told him." "I stopped doing that a long time ago," Jamal admitted. "Why did you marry me, Jamal?" "Really?" Jamal looked out at the garden before answering. "You were beautiful. My parents approved. It made sense for my position at the firm and in society." He turned back to her. "I married you partly because that's what was expected of me. And I married you because you represented security and status," Sarah said. "We never really knew each other, did we?" "Maybe we're finally starting to now," Jamal said quietly. Upstairs, Letitia sat with the triplets, who were sleeping peacefully in their new cribs. She heard the honest conversation happening below and felt a weight lifting from the house. Whatever happened next, the truth was finally out. In the district attorney's office downtown, William's lawyer negotiated frantically. "My client is willing to plead guilty to child endangerment and obstruction, but we want the breaking and entering charges dropped." The district attorney shook her head. "He illegally entered the Palmer home with intent to commit a crime. The charge stands. Then we want assurance that his paternity rights won't be affected by this case. That's a family court matter," the DA replied. "But his criminal conviction won't help his case there." As Detective Roberts finished filing his reports that evening, his phone rang. It was the police chief. "Roberts, someone just posted bail for all 3 suspects. Judge Harrison signed off on it an hour ago." "Who posted it?" the detective asked. "Richard Thornton," the chief replied. Detective Roberts frowned. "The state senator? What's his connection to this case?" "That's what I want you to find out," the chief said. "Because a powerful man like Thornton doesn't get involved in a family matter unless there's something bigger at stake." Detective Roberts hung up the phone, troubled by Senator Thornton's involvement in the case. The connection between a state senator and the Palmer family added a new layer to an already complex situation. He made a note to investigate this connection further in the morning. 1 week later, Jamal sat in his lawyer's office in downtown Greenwich. The large windows overlooked the harbor where expensive boats bobbed in the water. Jeffrey Brooks, his attorney, placed a thick document on the desk between them. "These are the divorce papers, Jamal. I've outlined everything we discussed." Jamal picked up the document and flipped through the pages. "And Sarah has agreed to these terms?" "Her lawyer confirmed it this morning," Jeffrey said. "She gets the house in Boston plus the monthly support payments for the triplets. You keep the business assets and the vacation properties." Jamal nodded slowly. "And the custody arrangement?" "Joint custody, with the children primarily living with Sarah. You'll have them every other weekend and for extended periods during holidays and summer." "Even though they're not biologically mine," Jamal said quietly. Jeffrey looked at him carefully. "You can still back out of this. Many men would, given the circumstances." "No," Jamal said firmly. "They're innocent in all this. I won't punish them for the actions of others." He signed his name on each marked page, his pen moving with purpose. When he finished, he closed the document and handed it back to Jeffrey. "What about the criminal cases against my mother, William, and Arthur?" "They've all accepted plea deals," Jeffrey explained. "Your mother will serve 6 months of house arrest followed by 2 years of probation. William and Arthur received similar sentences, plus community service. They all avoided jail time because no one was physically harmed." "And Senator Thornton? Why did he post their bail?" Jeffrey shifted uncomfortably. "Apparently, your mother and the senator have been friends for many years. They serve on several charity boards together." "Just friends?" Jamal asked skeptically. "That's all I know," Jeffrey replied. "But his involvement did help secure those favorable plea deals." Across town, Sarah packed the last of her clothes into suitcases. The Boston house was ready for her and the triplets to move in the next day. William had kept his promise to provide a place for them, though their relationship remained strained. Letitia knocked softly on the bedroom door. "Mrs. Palmer? The babies are ready for their feeding." "Thank you, Letitia, and please call me Sarah now. I won't be Mrs. Palmer much longer." Letitia nodded. "The movers asked if you want the family photos packed separately." Sarah looked at the framed wedding picture on the dresser. She and Jamal smiled at the camera, looking perfect and happy. She put the photo face down. "Just leave them. They belong to this house now." In the nursery, Emma, Ethan, and Elijah lay in their cribs, unaware that their world was changing forever. At 3 months old, they recognized faces and voices but understood nothing of the drama surrounding their young lives. Sarah picked up Elijah, the smallest of the triplets. "We're going to a new home tomorrow, little one. Just us and your brother and sister." "And me, if you'll still have me," Letitia said from the doorway. Sarah looked up in surprise. "What do you mean?" "Mr. Palmer offered me a promotion to head of household staff," Letitia explained. "But I'd rather come with you to Boston. The triplets need familiar faces around them." Tears filled Sarah's eyes. "You'd do that? After everything that's happened?" "These babies have my heart," Letitia said simply, "and you'll need help with 3 of them on your own." "I won't be entirely on my own," Sarah admitted. "William wants to be involved. He's taking an apartment nearby." "Do you trust him?" Letitia asked. Sarah sighed. "I don't know anymore, but he is their father, and he seems genuinely sorry." Later that afternoon, Jamal met with Gloria at her attorney's office. Under the terms of her house arrest, she couldn't leave except for legal meetings and medical appointments. She wore an ankle monitor beneath her expensive pantsuit. "Jamal," she said, reaching for his hand, "thank you for coming." He kept his hands at his sides. "This isn't a social visit, Mother. I'm here to tell you my decision personally." Gloria's smile faded. "What decision?" "I've removed you from all Palmer family accounts and business interests. I've also changed my will. You'll receive what Father left you directly, but nothing more." Gloria's face paled. "You can't cut me off like that. I'm your mother." "A mother who endangered 3 innocent babies to get what she wanted," Jamal said coldly. "A mother who was willing to manipulate and blackmail people." "Everything I did was for you," Gloria insisted. "That woman was making a fool of you, passing off another man's children as yours." "That's not why you did it," Jamal replied. "You did it because Sarah wasn't from the right social circle, because she threatened your control over me and the Palmer name." Gloria stood up straighter. "The Palmer name stands for something in this town, Jamal. Your father understood that. My father is gone," Jamal said. "And so is my relationship with you. Goodbye, Mother." As he turned to leave, Gloria called after him. "Those children will never be true Palmers, Jamal." "Blood matters." Jamal paused at the door. "No, Mother, love matters. Something you never understood." That evening, Jamal and Sarah met in the mansion's library for one final conversation before she left for Boston. The triplets were asleep upstairs with Letitia watching over them. "So it's done," Sarah said. "The papers are signed." Jamal nodded. "Your lawyer has the copies. The settlement is generous." "More than generous," Sarah acknowledged. "Why, Jamal?" "After what I did? We both made mistakes," Jamal said. "We married for the wrong reasons. We grew apart instead of together. The affair was your mistake, but our failed marriage was on both of us." Sarah looked down at her hands. "I never meant for any of this to happen." "I know," Jamal said softly. "But now we have 3 children who need us to be better than we were. Different, but better." "Will you tell them the truth when they're older?" Sarah asked. "About their biology?" "Yes, when the time is right. They deserve honesty." Jamal moved to the window, looking out at the garden. "But I'll also tell them that I chose to be their father, even when I didn't have to be." The next morning, Sarah stood in the driveway with the triplets in their car seats. Letitia supervised the loading of the final suitcases into the waiting SUV. Jamal came out to say goodbye. "Call me when you arrive in Boston," he said. "And next weekend, I'll drive up to see them." Sarah nodded. "They'll be waiting for you." Jamal knelt down and touched each baby's cheek. "Be good for your mom," he whispered. "I'll see you soon." As the car pulled away, Jamal stood alone in front of the large, empty mansion. Inside, the real estate agent waited to discuss putting the property on the market. He couldn't imagine living there anymore, not with the memories of betrayal and lies that filled every room. His phone rang. It was Detective Roberts. "Mr. Palmer, I thought you should know. We've been investigating Senator Thornton's connection to your mother." "And?" Jamal asked. "Your mother made a substantial donation to his re-election campaign last year, $2 million through various channels." "That's not unusual for my mother. She supports many politicians." "There's more," the detective continued. "Senator Thornton sits on the State Banking Commission. Last year, he helped push through approval for a merger involving your firm, despite regulatory concerns." Jamal frowned. "Are you suggesting there was something improper about the merger?" "I'm not making accusations," Detective Roberts said carefully, "but the timing of your mother's donation, the merger approval, and now the senator's involvement in her case raises questions." After ending the call, Jamal walked back into the mansion. The house that once represented success and privilege now felt like a monument to deception. Every room held secrets he was only beginning to uncover. In the foyer, he stopped and looked at the large family portrait that hung on the wall. Himself, Sarah, and the newborn triplets, all dressed in white. The perfect family. The perfect lie. Jamal took the portrait down and placed it face down on the floor. It was time to build something new, something honest. In Boston, Sarah unlocked the door to her new home. It was smaller than the mansion, but still spacious and elegant. William had chosen well. Letitia followed with Emma in her arms, while Sarah carried Ethan and Elijah. "Welcome home, little ones," Sarah said softly. "This is where we start over." As they stepped inside, Sarah's phone buzzed with a text message from William. "Are you settled in? Can I come see the babies tomorrow?" Sarah looked at her children, then typed her reply, "Yes, we need to talk about how we move forward, for them." Sarah placed her phone on the table and looked around her new home. The Boston townhouse felt like a fresh start, a clean page for her and the triplets to begin their story again. 1 year later, that page had filled with new memories. The sold sign on the front lawn of the Palmer mansion came down as moving trucks lined the circular driveway. A young couple in their 30s, Jason and Lisa Chen, who had made their fortune in tech startups, walked through the grand entryway, pointing excitedly at features they planned to keep or change. The previous owner completely renovated the nursery, the real estate agent explained. "Brand new everything." Jason nodded. "Perfect timing. We're expecting our first child in 4 months." In Seattle, 3,000 miles away, Jamal Palmer stood at a podium, cutting a large red ribbon stretched across the entrance of a modern building. A sign above the door read, "Palmer Children's Advocacy Center." "Today marks a new beginning," Jamal said to the small crowd gathered for the opening. "Every child deserves a safe home and someone who truly cares for them." Reporters raised their hands with questions. A woman from the Seattle Times spoke first. "Mr. Palmer, what inspired you to leave investment banking and start this nonprofit?" Jamal considered his answer carefully. "Let's just say personal experience taught me that children are innocent in adult problems. They deserve advocates who put their needs first." After the ceremony, Jamal checked his phone. There was a text message from Sarah with photos of the triplets at their second birthday party. Emma, Ethan, and Elijah sat in high chairs, their faces covered in chocolate cake. They had grown so much. Emma with her blonde curls like her mother, the boys with darker hair. All three had William's eyes. Jamal smiled and typed back, "They're beautiful. Tell them Uncle Jamal loves them." He had found peace with his role in the triplets' lives. He wasn't dad, but he remained a constant, caring presence. Every other month he flew to Boston to spend a weekend with them. In between, there were video calls and photos. The arrangement wasn't conventional, but it worked. In Boston, Sarah closed her laptop after sending the birthday photos to Jamal. The townhouse living room was scattered with toys and birthday decorations. Letitia was cleaning up the kitchen while William gathered wrapping paper from the floor. "Did you send the pictures to Jamal?" William asked, his voice casual but his expression careful. "Yes," Sarah replied. "He says he loves them." William nodded. Their relationship with Jamal remained complicated but respectful. After months of therapy, both couples counseling and individual sessions, Sarah and William had built something resembling a healthy relationship. Trust came slowly, especially after his involvement in the scheme with Gloria, but they were trying for the sake of their children. "Coach says Ethan might be ready for the toddler soccer program next month," William said, changing the subject. He had started coaching youth soccer on weekends, discovering a passion for working with children that surprised everyone, including himself. "He's still unsteady when he runs," Sarah said. "Maybe in another month or two." Letitia entered with a tray of coffee. No longer wearing a uniform, she was dressed in casual clothes and moved with the confidence of someone who knew her worth. After moving to Boston with Sarah, she had enrolled in night classes at the community college while continuing to help with the triplets during the day. "The babies are finally asleep," she said. "That cake was too much excitement." Sarah smiled. "I don't know what I would have done without you this past year, Letitia." "Well, soon you'll have to manage without me full-time," Letitia reminded her. "Once I finish my degree this summer, I'll be starting at the college as an administrative assistant." "You'll always be part of our family," Sarah assured her. "The triplets would revolt if you disappeared completely." In Westport, Connecticut, Detective Marcus Roberts drove past the former Palmer mansion. The new owners had repainted the exterior and added modern landscaping, erasing many traces of the family that once lived there. He slowed his car, remembering the case that had occupied so much of his time a year ago. The investigation into Senator Thornton's connection to Gloria Palmer had uncovered financial improprieties that led to the senator's resignation. Gloria herself had avoided further charges by cooperating with authorities, though it did nothing to repair her relationship with her son. Roberts's phone rang, interrupting his thoughts. It was the police chief. "Just checking if you're coming to the retirement party for Johnson next week," the chief said. "Wouldn't miss it," Roberts replied. 25 years on the force deserves a proper send-off." As he drove away from the mansion, Roberts reflected on how the case had ultimately been about the dangerous consequences when truth is sacrificed to maintain appearances. The Palmer family's perfect facade had hidden years of unhappiness and deception. In Palm Beach, Florida, Gloria Palmer sat alone on the terrace of her waterfront estate. Her house arrest had ended months ago, but she rarely left home anyway. Former friends had distanced themselves after the scandal, and she had no family left who would speak to her. Her housekeeper approached cautiously. "Mrs. Palmer, your medication and lunch are ready." Gloria nodded without speaking. Her health had declined in the past year, though doctors found nothing physically wrong with her. She spent her days looking through old family albums and writing letters to Jamal that she never mailed. On her side table sat a newspaper with a small article about the opening of Jamal's Children's Advocacy Center in Seattle. She had cut it out carefully and read it dozens of times. Despite everything, she felt a flicker of pride in her son's new direction. In a small village outside London, Arthur Thompson tended to roses in his sister's garden. After completing his community service, he had left America, unable to face the shame of betraying the family he had served for 3 decades. His sister approached with tea. "The roses look lovely, Arthur. You've always had a gift with plants." "Thank you, Margaret," he replied formally, old habits of proper service still evident in his speech. "The soil here is quite different from Greenwich, but they're adapting well." "Any word from America?" she asked gently. Arthur shook his head. "No, and I don't expect any. Some bridges cannot be rebuilt once burned." Back in Boston as evening fell, Sarah sat in the nursery rocking chair writing in her journal. She had started journaling during therapy and continued the practice, finding it helped organize her thoughts. "1 year since everything changed," she wrote. "The triplets are thriving. They speak in short sentences now. Emma is the leader, always directing her brothers. Ethan is quiet and observant. Elijah is our comedian, making silly faces until everyone laughs. William and I are trying. Some days are easier than others. The trust is still fragile, but we're committed to being good parents together. The couple's therapist says we're making progress. Jamal calls every Sunday to talk to the triplets. They light up when they see him on the screen. He's found his purpose with the Advocacy Center. He's dating a pediatrician he met through his work. She seems kind. Letitia graduates next month. I'm so proud of her. We're throwing her a party. The triplets are making cards with their handprints. Sometimes I still wake up wondering how we all got here. But then I look at my children, and I know that despite all the pain and mistakes, some good came from it all." In Seattle, Jamal was having dinner with Dr. Catherine Mitchell, the pediatrician he had been dating for 2 months. She was warm and genuine, with a passion for her work that matched his own newfound commitment to helping children. "How was the center's opening?" she asked. "Good," Jamal replied. "We already have referrals from 3 family court judges." "And how are the triplets? Did Sarah send birthday photos?" Jamal smiled and showed her his phone. "They're growing so fast. I'll visit them next month." "It's unusual, you know," Catherine said carefully. "Most men wouldn't stay involved with children who aren't biologically theirs, especially after a divorce under those circumstances." "They were innocent in all of it," Jamal said simply. "And for the first 3 months of their lives, I was their father. That connection doesn't just disappear." As they continued their meal, Jamal felt a contentment he hadn't experienced in years. The pain hadn't disappeared entirely, but it had transformed into something manageable, even purposeful. That night, as Jamal fell asleep in his Seattle apartment, the triplets slept peacefully in their Boston home, and Detective Roberts filed away the last of his case notes in Greenwich. They were all connected by the events of that stormy night 1 year ago, when a cardboard box revealed the truth that had been hiding in plain sight all along. If you enjoyed today's video, I'm sure you'll love the next one. Don't waste time. Just click on the screen.